Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to the ancient dwarven hold of our ancestors. Today I shall be discussing the Dark Tower known as Karazhan. Now dear viewers, you cannot really talk about Karazhan without discussing the history of its most well-known inhabitant, Medivh the Last Guardian. Their histories are entwined as such that you cannot really discuss one without the other. So in this video I shall bring you the history of both. Karazhan is a prominent citadel built by the Guardian of Tirisfal, Aegwynn, well before the coming of the Horde through the Dark Portal. Its location was no fit of chance, but rather built upon a place where magical ley lines converged, allowing the Guardian to siphon the power when needed. This location was in the south of Deadwind Pass in the eastern kingdoms of Azeroth. The Guardian of Tirisfal is a mage chosen to be empowered by the energies of the members of the Council of Tirisfal, a secret group of powerful wizards that sought to do battle with demons. Their aim was to keep Azeroth safe from demonic influence, and the Guardian was the vessel through which this was enacted. Aegwynn was the penultimate Guardian of Tirisfal, with her son Medivh being the last. There are many stories told of Aegwynn and her battles with numerous entities over her centuries-long life, but the most important and relevant to the telling was her duel with the avatar of Sargeras himself. As a quick aside dear viewers, Sargeras is the creator and ruler of the Burning Legion, that endless army of demons intent on bringing every world in the universe to the flame. Aegwynn was in the midst of battling a demonic incursion in Northrend when the avatar of Sargeras appeared before her, bristling with demonic energies and the raw power as only a fallen titan could muster. It was a tremendous duel, but ultimately Aegwynn was able to defeat the avatar of the mighty demon lord and cast down his physical form. She interred the remains in a sunken hall at the bottom of the ocean, assuming it would contain them forevermore. Sadly, what she didn't know was that Sargeras had apparently foreseen these events, and at the moment of his physical body's demise, transferred his essence into the Guardian, to lay in wait in the dark recesses of her soul. Thinking she had succeeded in defeating the great fallen titan, she returned to Karazhan. The mages of Tirisfal at this time sought to curtail the Guardian, as they saw her as wayward and not pursuing the will of the Council. Over the years they sent numerous agents to try and bring her to heel, but none succeeded until Nearless Aran, who, after being dispatched to try and defeat the Guardian, instead fell in love with her and she conceived the child Medivh. Sadly it seems this was part of Sargeras' plan, and he invaded the body of the young lad still in the womb, corrupting him. Aegwynn decided that she would pass on the powers of the Guardian to her son rather than someone deemed fit by the Council. She feared they would simply nominate a puppet who would only be their errand maker and nothing else. When Medivh was born, she spirited herself away and left him with his father in some hope of keeping him safe. In his younger years he made friends with Anduin Lothar and the future king of Stormwind, Aegwynn. On the eve of his 14th birthday he went into a coma, ravaged by the Dark Titan's influence. It would be 10 years before he awoke with no little care from the clerics of Northshire and the death of his own father. The power of the Guardian had awakened within him. Once he had been released from that silent state, Medivh feigned a sober mind in total control of his powers, but sadly he was still possessed by the will of Sargeras. A notable event at this time was in the conflicts between the Gurubashi trolls of Stranglethorn and Stormwind. Due to the encroachment of human settlers upon their lands, the trolls attacked and eventually laid siege to Stormwind City itself. With encouragement from his friends Lothar and Lane, Medivh, though apprehensive, unleashed his full powers upon the invading trolls, defeating them utterly and avenging the death of Lane's father, the king Barathin. From this point onwards, Medivh seemed to the people of Stormwind as humanity's greatest defender. He took up home once again in Karazhan, aided by Morass the butler and a cook called Cook. He was encouraged by Morass to hold lavish parties, inviting nobles of the surrounding areas to attend, perhaps as a front should anyone suspect his deepening delusions brought on by the Lord of the Legion's infernal presence. Medivh's power grew with each coming day, but so too did the delusions and descent into madness. It would be him who made contact with the warlock Gul'dan of the Orcish Horde on Draenor. He bargained with the Orc to bring the Horde through the Dark Portal in the Eastern Kingdoms of Azeroth if he revealed the location of the Tomb of Sargeras. Gul'dan is another well-known character in Warcraft lore, and likely a candidate for their own video. He was the first warlock of the Horde, turning his back on the Orcs' traditional shamanism, instead indulging in the arts of demons and felfire. Medivh opened the Dark Portal, allowing the forces of the Horde to pass through into his homeland, setting the stage for the first war between the Orcs and the humans. As a side note, Warcraft 1 is not only a classic RTS to play, it also reveals the story of the First War and its eventual culmination. The opening of the portal between the two worlds caused a great disturbance that was felt by all creatures in some way attuned to the magical ways. Importantly, this was felt by his mother, Aegwynn. She spirited to Karazhan alongside the noble blue dragon, Arygos, in an attempt to confront the Guardian about what had happened. They arrived during one of the parties held by Medivh, and the Great Hall was filled with nobles. When questioned about Aegwynn, Medivh revealed Sargeras' plan to send his essence into her body and await the conception of a child, who he would then invade and entwine himself with. When the power of the Guardian awakened within Medivh, so too did the demonic influence twist inside him. There followed a great magical duel between the former and current Guardian. For although she had passed on the powers to her son, Aegwynn was still a formidable mage with centuries of experience. She was determined to rid Azeroth of the taint of Sargeras, even if that meant destroying her only child. The magical combat was intense and spectacular. At some point, Arygos joined in the fight, but he was no match for Medivh and was burned inside out, leaving nothing but bone and flame, becoming fiery death known as Nightbane. Incensed by the death of her dragon friend, Aegwynn pressed in on the fight with Medivh, and eventually gained the upper hand. Seeing that he could be defeated, Medivh drained the life of all those that had come to the tower that night, such as the horrific effects of fel magic. Now infused with more power, he was still unable to best his mother, so instead he banished her from sight. The Council of Tirisfal sent various agents to the tower to investigate it, with several of them befalling accidents that were actually the machinations of Medivh. At some point he was visited by travelling traders, charlatans, that dealt in counterfeit artifacts. They tried to deceive the Guardian, but he saw through their lies, and as punishment he cursed them for all time to roam the land, looking for actual powerful artifacts that they might bring them to him. Their tale is an interesting one, with them being involved in several key events in the surrounding area of Karazhan. Though the council had sent several apprentices to the Guardian's tower, all had been dismissed swiftly, except for one known as Khadgar. He had managed to pique the Guardian's interest, studying under him for some time. It was Khadgar that discovered it was Medivh who had facilitated the coming of the Orcish Horde to Azeroth. It was decided in a meeting with King Lane that Lothar, along with Khadgar and the half-orc Garner, would lead a force to confront the crazed Guardian. It was discovered as they reached the tower that Medivh, in his crazed madness, had killed Morass and the cook. When confronted by Lothar, a great battle took place between Medivh and his one-time friends. During the battle, Medivh cast a spell on Khadgar, which rapidly aged the wizard well beyond his years. Despite this, Khadgar managed to run through the Guardian using Lothar's blade. This unleashed Sargeras' demonic power. Perhaps with a sadness, it was then that Lothar decapitated Medivh, putting an end to the Last Guardian. So powerful was the Last Guardian that his spirit lingered in between reality, foreseeing many things, including the coming of the Scourge to Azeroth and the Curse of Undeath. In this form, he felt now only himself, only Medivh, no longer corrupted by the power of the fallen Titan. Sometime after the Second War between the Orcish Horde and the Alliance, seeing what was coming to the world, which might spell its ultimate doom, the spirit of Medivh appeared before Aegwynn and pleaded with her to help him become a presence in the world once more, so that he may attempt to warn the leaders of the peoples of Azeroth against what was to come. Perhaps surprisingly, his mother agreed, and managed to summon a form of Medivh back to the real world. She saw now that he was no longer possessed, and was simply who he should always have been, just Medivh. Now able to interact with the waking world once more, he travelled to Lordaeron to speak with King Karazhan and Medivh about the coming threat of the Scourge and the Legion, who dismissed him as a rambling madman. Perhaps he might have had more sway had he shown his real self, but that may also have been more of a hindrance than a boon to his argument. He also appeared before the Archmage of Dalaran, Antonidas, and for the same reason, especially in front of another powerful mage, he did not show his true self. Like King Terenas, the Archmage dismissed Medivh out of hand. Refused in his attempt to protect Azeroth as he always meant to, Medivh sent a dream vision to the young Orc warchief of the Horde, Thrall. In it, Azeroth was assailed by the Burning Legion while the Horde and Alliance fought. The warchief awoke with a start to be met with Medivh explaining the dream vision was of the future, of what was to come should the free people of Azeroth fail to heed his warning of the Burning Legion. Being a shaman, Thrall deferred to the wisdom of the elemental spirits, who told him to trust the words of Medivh. Therefore the Horde travelled across the sea to the land of Kalimdor. Medivh, seemingly not wanting to forsake the humans of the Eastern Kingdoms, appeared before the son of King Terenas, Arthas Menethil. The young prince and heir to the throne of Lordaeron, perhaps foreshadowing his own future, refused to heed the words of the last guardian. Gratefully, upon hearing Medivh's words, the young mage, Jaina Proudmoore, daughter of the ruler of Kilturris, Daelin Proudmoore, decided he was right and with several of her people travelled across the sea. Once there, Medivh appeared before Jaina, Thrall and the great druid of the Night Elves, Malfurion Stormrage. He appeared as a fabled oracle. It was here that Medivh shorn his disguise and revealed himself to be the last guardian of Tirisfal. He explained the great evil that was coming to Azeroth, and only through an alliance of the free people could they hope to stand against the flames of Fellfire. The three mighty heroes and leaders of their people came together in a last defence of Mount Hyjal and the World Tree of Nordrassil. It was here at the battle's zenith where the archdemon and leader of the Legion, Archimonde, was destroyed by the spirits of nature, having been summoned through the Horn of Cenarius by Malfurion Stormrage. The Legion was defeated, and the world could breathe once more. Medivh, the last guardian, had made amends, even if by some small amount, for the evilry that he once visited upon Azeroth. His physical form and power faded, and with it so did he, into the annals of history. This was the last time that Medivh in physical form would affect the events that happened on Azeroth, but it was not the end of his influence, and indeed the tower that he once called home. During the third invasion of the Legion, Karazhan was alive once more with activity. There were numerous agents sent by the Kirin Tor to investigate the tower, with all entering its doors not being seen again. A faction of the Kirin Tor known as the Violet Eye was created, who dedicated themselves to discovering both its secrets and preventing it from falling into the wrong hands. It seemed a demonic presence had now infiltrated the tower from the twisting nether. Mighty heroes such as Galandor the Brave were dispatched to Karazhan, where they defeated the leader of the demonic invasion himself, Prince Malcador. During the fourth invasion of the Burning Legion, they were quite determined. The tower came to the fore once more, with Khadgar entering the premises in search of secrets that might help combat the Legion. It was here that the spirit of Medivh appeared to him and told him to take up the mantle as the new guardian of Tirisfal. Khadgar refused, causing the spirit to reveal their true identity of a Dreadlord. It's always a Dreadlord, dear viewers. It was defeated by the mage and banished from the tower. Later, after Khadgar and a brave adventurer, possibly Galandor, ventured to Karazhan to find information of the Pillars of Creation, great artifacts used in the ordering of Azeroth. While they travelled through the tower, some echo of Medivh brought down its arcane defences, allowing the Legion to invade once more. They were driven back by the brave heroes and the defences restored once more. Since this time, the tower has been under the stewardship of the Archmage Khadgar, as he tries to learn more of its secrets and keep them out of evil hands. During the last war between the Horde and the Alliance, the Black Dragon Wrathion visits Khadgar in the tower to acquire some knowledge of a potion that could cleanse the old god's corruption from someone. It was here that the spirit of Medivh appeared to him, stating although he couldn't change the past, he could affect a strong future for Azeroth through his actions. And there we are, dear viewers, the story of the fabled tower of Karazhan, and its perhaps most prominent inhabitant, Medivh. I hope you found it interesting, and perhaps allowed some insight into the happenings entwined with this location and the Last Guardian. Thank you for watching. If you fancy supporting the channel, please leave a like, perhaps a subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your own thoughts on the magical tower. Thank you, and I shall see you next time.